I want to believe in Joe Mixon as a top 10 running back, but it just feels too risky. Let me explain why. Okay, last season, Joe Mixon only played in 6 games. In those 6 games, his numbers were pretty good. He had 23.3 touches per game. That would have ranked 4th among all running backs. 19.8 of those were carries. That was 3rd among all running backs, only behind Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry. He was also getting a lot of targets per game, 4.3 per game. That would have ranked 14th among running backs. And all of this amounted to 94.3 total yards per game. So despite being 4th in touches, he was only 11th in yards per game. And a big reason why is his yards per carry number. He only had 3.6 yards per carry last season, and among running backs, that would have ranked 60th in the NFL. So a pretty atrocious stat from Joe Mixon efficiency-wise. And touchdowns, they were okay. He had a 0.67 touchdowns per game last year. Pretty respectable, 16th among running backs. And all of this culminated in 14.9 half PPR points per game, which would have been 10th among running backs on a per-game basis. So all of this points to Joe Mixon being a top 10 running back, but I don't think that it's that safe to make that assumption. Clearly, Mixon was getting a huge workload last season, but with such a low yards per carry number, he wasn't getting much help from the offensive line. His blocking wasn't very good, so it's not that surprising that Mixon got hurt. In fact, in his 4 seasons in the NFL, Mixon has now missed 14 games and only completed 1 full season. That was 2 years ago. His workload could even go up, though, because Giovanni Bernard left in free agency to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this offseason. Reports from beat writer Paul Dehner, I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, of The Athletic, says that Joe Mixon could play 80% of snaps in 2021, which is a extremely high number. And while obviously that bodes well for his volume numbers, it means he's going to get hit more. The offensive line was addressed in the Bengals draft last year, but not at the very top. They took a lineman in the 2nd round and in the 4th round and again in the 6th round. But they had the opportunity to take the very best tackle in the draft, Penei Sewell, and they opted against it. They drafted Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow's former teammate from LSU, instead. So while the offensive line may be a little bit better this season, it could have been a lot better. And I don't think that Joe Mixon's yards per carry numbers are going to go up that much either. He may crack 4 yards per carry, but even that is not a guarantee. And even 4 yards per carry is still pretty bad. It's not good, that's for sure. And even though he might get the workload of a player like Christian McCaffrey or Dalvin Cook, it's not reasonable to expect the same type of production from Joe Mixon. His schedule is worth noting, I gotta be honest with you. He faces 2 elite run defenses in the first 3 games. That's Chicago and Pittsburgh weeks 2 and 3, which means he becomes a good buy low candidate after week 3. His next 5 games should be really good. He plays Jacksonville, Green Bay, Detroit, Baltimore, and the Jets. So those 5 games offer a good window where he's going to be a really productive player, and you may want to trade him again, because after the bye week, I'm not expecting him to have tremendous success, and it's, like I said, it's pretty likely he doesn't finish the season, or at least misses a few games. So that's why I'm tempering my expectations on Joe Mixon a little bit. It feels like I should rank Joe Mixon in the top 10, but to be honest with you, I just don't think that it is a safe enough bet. So that's why I have him as running back 12. His ADP is also running back 12 or 13, around there, and he's going around 20th overall. So if you can get him in the late 2nd round, I think that's really good value, and as a running back 2, I think he's a great pick. But I wouldn't be too excited to have him as my running back 1. I think that's a little bit too risky.